Rich Robinson from the Black Crows. Welcome to Noise 11, and it's a very great pleasure to say we will be welcoming you to Australia shortly too, because I must say, Rich, it's been a rare visit to get you down to Australia.
Of course, yeah. I mean, look, the band breaking up every couple of years doesn't help, but yes, it's it's been a while. But we're looking forward to it. We can't wait to get down there.
Yeah, I think it was 1992, Festival Hall, Melbourne.
Yeah,
You would have opened with No Speak, ended with Jealous, and I think there was an Allman Brothers Dreams in there. Will you
yeah,
be
yeah.
that good when you get down here this time?
I don't know. Could be, possibly. I'm excited though. We can't wait to get to Melbourne. It really has been a long time.
Yeah. You've been on tour doing the 30th anniversary of the first album,
Yeah.
which must be an interesting thing as a musician to revisit. Some of those songs are quite rare, I would imagine. I think Struttin' Blues hadn't been played in about, well, pretty much since the album came out.
Yeah, I think we played it like 4 times on Shake Your Money Maker, and then we just were like, this isn't working for us, and then we just stopped. I don't even remember why. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was a thing, but it's pretty amazing to dig into that catalog and play those songs and Strut Blues wound up being one of our favorite things to play.
Yeah, and I think another one of the rarities was Could I Have Been So Blind? That hasn't been played very much over the years.
We didn't play it much at all, no, it is cool to kind of go back. I mean, like I was saying, I was 19 when I recorded that record, so it was a long time ago, and 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 just to go back, and we've never played a record in its entirety before, and we had never, and so the whole thing, to look back at it, to look at it as a piece, and to really delve into the whole record every night has been really a cool thing to do. You know what I mean? I'm really happy we're doing that.
Are you learning something as a listener would have heard those songs by going back and revisiting them?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe, you kind of get so far away from something, so possibly going back to them gives me those a little bit more closer to those ears. So that
Mm.
could be true.
A song like She Talks to Angels, which, is pretty much you. Um, is that a song that, it has personal ramifications that have carried forward with you?
Again, I mean, I wrote that when I was 17. So it was like 36 years ago or something. Yeah. So it's hard. I mean, but that song has kind of taken on its own life because it's always been with us. A song like Could I Have Been So Blind or Strut Blues kind of sat dormant. And then to reintroduce yourself to those songs, you can still have, it's you can listen to them or have the ears of someone who kind of doesn't have an attachment to them. But She Talks to Angels has been with us and so prevalent still in our shows that it's kind of taken on a new life. There's an arc to that song. So from inception to now, there's still an arc that song has followed. So I can always kind of tap into that song that has been with me for 32 years or whatever that is. So that one's a little bit different in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's taken on a whole different meaning, as I get older and see and to see how much that song means to people, to look in the audience and see people, cry and be really affected by it emotionally is something that any musician I think would wish for. Most musicians I know that are in it for the right reasons were moved by a song that much when they were kids, no matter what song that may be. If you heard Let It Be for the first time and it just floored you, or if you heard, an AC/DC song or whatever it is, and that just moved you so much and it hit you, in your soul. Um, that's a gift. And then to grow up and write a song that does that to other people is like unbelievable to think about.
Yeah. This band from Atlanta, Georgia, and, I think back to hearing that album for the first time, seeing the band for the first time in 1992, you had no idea what the next 30 years would entail. And there've been some incredible milestones in there. And, I loved when the Live at the Greek album came in, the Jimmy
Oh
Page
yeah.
album. Okay, so you're transformed from this guy in Atlanta to being on stage with Jimmy Page performing Led Zeppelin songs. That must have
I
given
know.
you an incredible insight to how that band operated back in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, but Jimmy's a fan too, like that's what was so cool about Jimmy is like he loves music too. Like he was always showing us stuff. I remember we first met him. We were playing at the Royal Albert Hall. We did 3 nights at the Albert Hall, and we had toured with Robert um, on Shake Your Moneymaker, and then on Southern Harmony had done some festivals with Robert. And so by the time Amorica came out, which was our third record, they were doing Page Plant, and Robert was coming down. Every time we were in London, we're like, Robert, come down. And he was like, can I bring Jimmy? And we're like, of course, please bring Jimmy. And he brought Jimmy down, and Jimmy was great and loved the show. And then a couple of days later, we flew to Paris, and he's like, I'd like to come to Paris. We're like, man, come on. And he came, and Chris had bought a bunch of records. He had a crate of records in our dressing room, and Jimmy just sat down on the floor and was like looking through the records. Oh, I love this one, this one's amazing, you know what I mean, have you heard this? I mean, he was still a fan of music, and you could feel it because that night he got up and played Shake Your Moneymaker with us, Elmore James's version. And that was the first time we ever played together. It was in Paris at a place called the Zenith. And then we struck up our friendship, and then it was like one thing, and then we toured with them later and the next year we actually we opened for the Rolling Stones and for Page Plant that summer. So in between, like, we played 3 nights at Wembley Stadium with the Rolling Stones, and then we would go up and play with Jimmy and Robert. And so that summer we learned a lot. That was like, holy shit. Like how does this work? I mean, one night Chris and I are standing behind Keith's amps looking at Charlie Watts, and they would all gather around Charlie and stare at us and point, and Woody would point at us and laugh. And then the next night we're standing behind Jimmy's amps watching those guys up there. I mean, it was amazing. So then it was like one thing led to another, and Jimmy asked us to do this thing. And it was really the first time we started playing with him, which was this charity event in London. And he was like, I want you guys to be the band. I want to play in your band. And it was so cool. And so we were, he's like, pick whatever songs you want to do, whatever Zeppelin songs. And we chose, In My Time of Dying. We tried to choose like Custard Pie. We chose songs that we listened to. We stayed away more so from the hits, like the massive songs. And we had so much fun. We got in the room and it clicked like we had been playing together forever. I mean, we just started playing, and it clicked not only because we were obviously massive Zeppelin fans and grew up listening to Zeppelin, but we also listened to all the music Jimmy listened to growing up. So we had that sort of foundation. And so it's just one of those things that's so amazing to do. And then, and we didn't even think about it. And that was, we had a job to do. We're there to support Jimmy, to show our reverence and our respect for these songs that mean so much to everyone. And it's 100% about that. And so we didn't really take the time to think about, oh shit, I'm standing next to Jimmy Page. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this. We're going to bring our best to this. We're going to bring our reverence and our respect for this music. and Chris did an amazing job, and the band did an amazing job, and Jimmy did a phenomenal job, and it was just one of the best things. And that was one of those things that you really couldn't fathom because it was so big until like 3 years later, and you're like, holy shit, you know what I mean? I can't believe that we were playing, like, not only are we playing Zeppelin songs, but Jimmy was like, can I play on She Talks to Angels? I'm like, of course. He's like, I have this beat bender part that I wanted to play on. I'm like, man, and it was the coolest part in the world. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, he wanted to play a song called Horsehead. He really liked it. He wanted to play Remedy. And then we were like, what about, like, did you ever like Pink Floyd? Lucifer Sam. He's like, man, let's do it. It's such an amazing experience to have.
Wow. I hope you ring Jimmy before you get on the plane to Australia and say, hey, Jimmy, we're going to Australia. And he'll say, can I come too?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you never know.
That'd be pretty cool. George Drakoulias, now he was another person who basically he was having his start right at the time that you were having your first records as well. And he went on to a massive career as well with, like Tom Petty. He even worked with an Australian band, UMI, at one point.
Yeah, he worked with a ton of bands. George found us and signed us. So we started to be in a band. We had a friend who started working at the mailroom of A&M Records, and he sent our demo. He got us booked in a studio, and we recorded our songs. And our friends sent a demo to LA, this guy named Aaron Jacobus, who was an A&R guy at A&M Records, A&R artist and repertoire at A&M Records. And so that guy liked our stuff. I mean, I was 15 years old, and we were playing REM kind of jangly music because that's what we were into at the time. And so a couple of years go by, we did like 2 or 3 demos for A&M, and it didn't really go anywhere. And actually REM's manager was starting a record label at the time. His name was Jefferson Holt, and he booked us a show in the Upper East Side. The Northeast. And there was a gig in the East Side of New York. And it was at this club on like 69th Street Bridge, I think. And so we went and played. And after our show, I sat down, and George was sitting next to me. I mean, he was probably 5 years older than me, but we thought he was an older man. He was an old man. I was like, who's this old guy? When I was 15, he was 20. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? But, he liked our band. He was like, wow, I heard about you guys. I was asking around in Atlanta, and someone told me about you. And so I wanted to come check you out or whatever. And so that was it. We met George. We immediately liked him as a person, and he had a ton of knowledge about music. And so he just said, let's do some writing. Let's see what can do. We did some demos with him. He tried to sign us to A&M. It wasn't working. So he went out to the West Coast, signed us to Rick Rubin's label, and that was it. But George, he really, at the time, he was kind of everything to us. He was our manager. He got us signed. He found us a manager, you know what I mean? So he could kind of, he helped us until our manager came in at the time. And he was just, and so, we're still working with him right now as we speak.
Well, I can't wait to see you back down in Australia. I can't believe that it's been 30 years since June 1992 when I first saw you.
Crazy. Yeah, exactly.
I was a lot younger then too, Rich.
Exactly. I bet. It's what happens with time,
Yeah. Can't wait for the Australian shows.
It's going to be great.
See you in a few months.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.